Episode 141. She was ill-taught by him.
Mum, I thought I was clear. Her child has nothing to do with me.
In the living room of the old house, the landline was put on speaker. Holding the phone, Nola looked at Lila, who was leaning against the sofa with one hand on her belly, pleading with her eyes. Nola Robinson knew that Lila couldn't say anything, and said to the phone, "But," Jake interrupted his mother.
"Is there anything else? If not, my wife and I are going to bed."
Hearing that, Lila Cox sobbed and her tears fell. Hearing the noise, Jake said nothing, while Serena stared with her eyes wide and said, "Lila is there as well? Isn't she feeling uncomfortable? Shouldn't she rest at home?" Nola felt embarrassed, as she did not expect Serena to be next to the phone and able to hear their conversation. Glancing at Lila, Nola suddenly made up an excuse and said, "I'm visiting Lila in the hospital." Jake glanced at the number and pursed his lips, whispering,
"Mum, you are calling me from the landline at home."
There was radio silence from the other end. Before Nola could speak up and do some damage control, Jake sighed and simply hung up without saying one word. Serena couldn't help chuckling. He even exposed his mother's lie for her. Seeing Nola Robinson hitting the wall, Serena felt quite relieved. That was what she got for favoring Lila Cox's lies over her own daughter-in-law. Sitting on the bed, Serena had a pillow and asked Jake, "You said that Lila's baby has nothing to do with you, but why does she claim it is yours? Did you not use protection?" Hearing her words, Jake's face dimmed. He squinted his eyes and leaned over her. Seeing his look, Serena felt nervous and shrank back. She braced herself to ask, "Is that not true? Why are you looking at me like that?" Jake bent a knee on the bed and went closer to her, whispering,
"You think I had sex with her?"
Feeling anxious, Serena wanted to run away, but Jake held her down and took her by the waist. Letting out a yelp, Serena suddenly felt he was tickling her. As his fingers tickled her waist, Serena couldn't help laughing as she wriggled and struggled. "Stop it! Not there!" He did not listen at all and put a hand inside her clothes. His rough hand against her skin made her heart skip a beat. Serena begged, "Stop it! I'm dying here!" Jake stopped, lying on top of her. Serena then realized how intimate they were. Blushed, she pushed him away. "Get dressed! Aren't you cold?"
"No, I'm not."
At this moment, he only wanted to undress. Pushing her down, Jake gazed at Serena with his deep eyes, his voice mellow.
"Do you know that women are the most complicated creature in the world?"
Serena blinked and her breath quickened.
"I only have one lifetime, and that was about enough time to study you alone. The others are simply irrelevant."
Serena's heart thumped. She looked into his eyes, as deep as two wells, and felt like she was going to be sucked in. Gazing at her, Jake lowered his body. Their hot breath was inseparable. He said,
"So, trust me."
"I trust you." Serena looked at him, her dark eyes glistening, showing her joy. With a smile, Jake whispered,
"I want a reward."
"What reward?"
"A kiss."
Serena blinked, jerked her head up and pecked on his lips. Unsatisfied, Jake arched an eyebrow.
Just like that?
Her heart thumping, Serena put her arms around his neck and offered her lips. Her lips touched his, but she did not move. After a while, Serena let him go, her cheeks flaming and her breath quickening. Jake was still unsatisfied. He let out a sigh.
The first time, it was not a real kiss. The second time, it was just a longer fake kiss. You think you could fool me like that?
Feeling wrong, Serena pouted and said, "So, what do you want? Nothing works for you. It's all the same to me."
Of course it's not the same.
Jake took her hands down and pinned them above her head, whispering,
"I'll teach you what the difference is."
Noticing his blazing gaze, Serena felt her heart had skipped a beat. Deliberately looking elsewhere, she suddenly noticed her lips were seized. Jake kissed her deeply. Feeling a chill, Serena could not resist his offense. He looked so dreamy, and she felt connected to him in a way she never had. He moved wildly. Their lips touching, he released her hands and wrapped his arms on her waist. Serena panted, ashamed about her arousal. She blushed and surrendered under his skillful kiss. He picked her up gently, and she couldn't help reacting, wrapping her legs around him tightly. Very soon she stopped herself. Frustrated at what she was doing, her reactions were those which couldn't be contained. This was so embarrassing. She was trying to stop, but she couldn't. Jake chuckled and yanked her up roughly. His voice deep and provocative, he teased,
"Don't be shy. We have plenty time later."
This was something Serena wasn't prepared for. A chill ran down her spine, thinking about the last time she was with Jake in the back of his car. Her body stiffened, and he understood there was a reaction. Jake pulled back and looked at her. He softly said,
"We don't have to if you don't. I will never again touch you without your permission."
Serena gazed at his face, which looked so boyish, as if a student was apologizing to a teacher for making a mistake. Her heart melted because she knew he meant it. He was agonized, too. She pulled him close and hugged him, saying, "I trust you with all my heart." Understanding she had forgiven him, Jake scooped her up into his arms and took her to the bed. Serena was even more bashful, and she kissed him. Jake pulled back and excitedly said,
"So this means..."
Serena rolled her eyes and said, "Why do you have to say everything aloud? Turn the lights off."
"No. I want to look at you."
"I don't want you to look at me. Turn off the light." Jake eventually got up and turned the light off. As soon as he did, he immediately threw himself at her. Pulling off the towel around his waist, he jumped on her, and their bodies got entwined. Serena grasped the sheet underneath her body. The sense of being filled up made her feel ashamed and satisfied at the same time. Jeez, she was ill-taught by him.